All right, so we're going to come through here now and we're going to build this GUI. What I'm going to ask is that when we do the first part, just watch me because there's a few settings. It's a little quirky. I'm going to show you what I consider to be the most straightforward way of doing this. All right, so you'll have time to do it. But I'm going to come over here into my toolbox and I'm going to find a label and I'm going to drag in a label. Again, you don't have to do this yet. You'll have time in a minute. Labels are real little by default like that. So I'm going to find the property in my properties window. If I say find the property, is everybody cool with that? You all understand what I mean? That I mean go over to the properties window. And I want you to find the property that's called auto size. And it's set to true. Once I set it to false, now I can make that label any size I want it to be. All right? So I've added the label. There's my label. All right, then I'm going to come in and after that, I'm going to add a text box and put it virtually right next to it. So there's my label and here's my text box. All right, now I'm going to go back to the label and I'm going to call this label, I'm going to go over to my name property and I'm going to call it label first name because that's what I'm about to put in it. You cannot put blank spaces in a name. You cannot put hyphens in a name. All right, so I call that label first name, and I put that in and hit enter. Then I'm going down to the text, and I'm going to change the text to first name. That I can put blank spaces, colons, whatever in it. So now it looks real small, but I'll fix that in just a minute. All right, then I'm going to go over to my text box, and I'm going to call my text box first name. All right, so if you could do that, put in the two controls, so put in a label control, put in a text box control. For the text box control, the only thing you have to change is the name. We don't want it to be called text box 1, we want it to be called text box first name. So why is it? Label first name, text box first name, there it is. Once you change it here, it should change up here as well. All right? As we go through this stuff, I'll be explaining some stuff that's not in your book. All right? Because there are a couple little, I don't know what you'd call them, but if you want to be able to work your way around real fast in your form, if you look on the screen here, see where this says text box name right there? Notice if I click the down arrow, it'll show me all of the different controls I have. So if I want to move back to the label, I can click there and now I'm at the label.
What's that little arrow thing on the text box?
It's right there. It's the one that's right here. There.
I mean, when you click on it.
On the text box here?
Yeah, that.
Okay, that's the question was, what is this little arrow? That won't matter with what we're doing this semester. It's called a smart tag. If I want to be able to hook that field up to a database, that's how I do it. All right. But we're not going to worry about that, at least not for right now. So has everybody been able to do this? That you added these two things? All right. First thing. Well, that's not very big and it's pretty hard to read. I think it is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to single click. So I'm highlighting my label, and down in my label, I'm going to go down and I'm going to find, arrowing down here, I'm going to find where it says font. And if you notice, please look on the screen here that next to font, there's a plus sign to the left. I'm going to click that plus sign, and it's going to open up a bunch of properties for me. Right now, this thing, mine at least, is 5.5 points. That's not very big. So I'm going to click the ellipsis that's over here, and now it's going to let me change the size. I'm going to make it 12 point, and I'm going to click OK. Now it's easier to see. Now it maybe is a little bit too big, but that's okay. We can always we can always widen it out a little bit if we have to. All right. So now it looks like this. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is, well, it's not very close. I could go and shrink this down and then drag it over, etc. I don't want to do that. That's too much work. So again, with this highlighted, please look on the screen. I'm going to arrow down to a property that says text align. And notice right now it's right under text. It says top left. I'm going to click here, click on it, click the down arrow, and choose middle right. So see what I've done? I've moved over where it's positioned. All right? Now, some of you might be thinking, you're going way too fast. I don't get any of this. Just go back. I'm going to give you time to do this. But to go back again, what we did was we went over to our label. The first thing we did was we changed the name. Under the name property to label first name. Then, for the label, I went down to this font property. It had a plus sign on it. So I clicked the plus sign, and where it's got here the font, right after font, I clicked the 3 dots here, which is called an ellipsis. And that brought this up. I can also bold it right here if I want to. But this allows me to change the font type, the font style, and the font size. Now, I'm not going to do this, but I could make it really huge and make it 72 points now. It would take up most of the screen, but I could do that. Yes.
What did you click to get to that screen?
What did I click to get to that screen? I went down to font, and it had a plus sign. As soon as I clicked the plus sign, then right on the same line, I clicked the 3 dots over here, the ellipsis. All right? Sometimes when you click this, it will not show you the font style. Everybody hear what I said? I don't know why, but sometimes it doesn't show that. So I'm going to pretend that this isn't here, where it says font style. I'm pretending now that's not there. So I'm going to go down to where it says bold. Everybody see this? This is a properties window, meaning bold is a property or an attribute. Now I can do 3 things here. I can remove this and type in true. That's too much work. I can click that down arrow there and choose true. Or where it says false right here, I can literally just double click the word false and it turns to true. So I want that particular label to be bolded. Okay? Now it's looking better. It's still not perfect, but I'm going to try to line this up a little bit. Everybody look on the screen. Do you see how that's blue and then it gets to be purple down there? Those are basically set up to try to line things up for you. If it's blue like that, bless you, at the top, that means I'm lining up with the top of this control. If it's purple, that means I'm lining up with the bottom of the control, and I want the purple. So I want it to look like this. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. All right, now I'm going to show you a shortcut, but I'd like everybody to do that. The first program or so that you turn in, if they don't look beautiful, that's fine. But I will tell you this. So Tiffany, let's say, is creating her portfolio, and she's making links now to her GUI apps. She probably would want to go back if it's her first one and they're not lined up well, and line them up. Because potential employers are going to see this. And they don't want her to be known as, oh yeah, that's the person who couldn't paint the GUI. All right? And believe me, that's not how you want to be known. All right? Now, I could go down. Remember what we wanted to do. I said we want first name, then last name, then hours worked, then hourly rate, then gross pay. Right? We want that. I can go back and do what I just did 4 more times. That's too much work. So what I'm going to do, and please look on the screen because I'll do it for you, and if I have to, I'll do it again. But I'm going to take my mouse, I'm going to put it way up in the corner here, I'm going to hold down on the left mouse, and I'm going to do what's called lasso these. You've all done lassoing before. Whether you realize it or not, you've done that. So now I've highlighted both of them. Do you agree with that? I'm going to do a Control-C to copy and a Control-V to paste. So now I've got another one. And I'm going to put it right underneath the first one. Then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to put it underneath the second one. Then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to put it underneath the third one. Then I'm going to do it one last time. Now I'm going to have to, I think everybody'd agree, I'm going to have to change those labels. I don't have that great a first name that I wanted in there 5 times. But I think what I just did is much easier than you doing what we did at the beginning and then doing it 4 more times. You're going to paint your interface whatever flaming way you want to paint your interface. But I'm trying to show you what I consider to be the most straightforward way of doing this. So if you look up on the screen, what I want to do now is I want to click where it says first name, and I want to change the name now to label last name. And then I want to go down to my text, and I want to change the text from first name to last name. See what I've got now? Then I want to go over to my text box and change the name of my text box to text box last name. And I'm going to do that for all of these. So I won't talk now, but I'm going to do the hours, then I'm going to do the rate, all right, so I've got first name, label first name, text box first name, label last name, text box last name, label hours, text box hours, label rate, text box rate, and then finally label gross, text box gross. All right, now it's looking more like an interface. In fact, there's just a couple things more I have to do, and then the interface is complete. And again, if you say to yourself right now, I don't get any of this and I never will, that's the only way you won't get it. You can all do this. You're all of above average intelligence. You can all do it. It may take some practice. Did you notice that when I copied those, see how it's automatically right justified and bolded? I didn't have to add that stuff. That's another reason for doing copies like I showed you, because the stuff is already formatted for you. That's what I want. If you finished that already, if you're still working on it, it's fine. But if you finished it, we're now going to go up to our buttons over here. We're going to drag in and put in 4 buttons. Again, calculate. 3 buttons, I'm sorry. Clear and exit. This one will be called button calculate. This one will be called button clear. And this one will be called button exit. That's what I'm going to do, but I want to make sure people have time to catch back up. There's not a lot of code we have to add here. So let's just paint the interface. If you have not done so recently, and you probably haven't, again, look up on the screen here, good time to click that double disk icon and do a save all on your project. All right? Yes. You double click this thing, so that's okay. That's okay. Just go back over here. One of these should save this up.
Actually, if he hasn't saved it yet, you can use the admin button and load it up. Figure that out.
You know, what some people have, what happens with some people, for whatever reason, is they get enamored with interfaces. You can teach anyone to create an interface. You really can. It doesn't take that long. So some of yours, or most of yours, look every bit as good as mine. And it's not that mine looks fantastic, because it sure as heck does not. But the point is, you're paid as a programmer, you are paid to put the code in that makes the interface do what it's supposed to do. All right? So the next time, you know, that we're gonna, if we decide that we're going to do another program as a class, all right, and let's say it's not a payroll program, I might have the interface built already, and I'm gonna put it up there, and I'm going to expect that you can build that interface, and I'm going to expect that you can name your controls. I don't think that's asking too much. All right? But please make sure, again, please look up on the screen here. Do you see this? These are all my controls now. See how big it's getting? But I shouldn't have anything that says like label 1 or label 2 or anything that says text box 1 or 2. You don't want to do that. You want to explicitly name your controls. All right? Colin, I think you were the one that asked me the other day, with these labels, technically, do you have to name them? Anything that could potentially have code put in there, you probably won't put code in for labels. But you might as well just name everything. All right? And it more or less, for lack of better words, it's what I like to call, it's set it and forget it. All right? You named it once. The only way you might have to change it is, let's say I spelled exit wrong. I put exot or something like that, okay? Then I might want to change it. Now, one more thing, and then we're ready to write our code. Please look up on the screen again. Remember how we did this before? I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna lasso everything that's on my form. So I lassoed everything. If you don't want to do that, if that's too hard, and sometimes it is, maybe people aren't that dexterous. So if I click on a spot, any spot I want on the form that's empty, if I single click and I do a Control A, it does the same thing. Now, if that's easier for you, then do it that way, all right? Now, please look up on the screen here. You may or may not have been able to tell, but the number of properties I have is smaller because whatever I do now is going to apply to everything that's highlighted. Well, what I want to do is I want to lock this form into place, because I don't want those controls to move. I like the way it looks. I'm cool with the way it looks. So I can either I can go to where it says locked here, and I can double click on it to make it true, or I can click the down arrow and choose true, or I can right mouse click on this and choose lock controls. But I'd like you to lock your controls. However you want to do that. How can you tell? Because when you click on it, it gets the little lock right there. See that? See how they all have the lock? And now I can't move them. Whoops, I didn't want to do that, but that's right, that's right. And again, not the best looking interface, but it's a functional interface. All right? And if you, one more time, if you look up on the screen here, if I were to click my start button, none of the program is functional, but it doesn't look too bad. All right? We'll put the code in just a couple minutes. There's a couple more things that we're going to do. Some of these things that we're going to do right now, I explained these to you the other day. You may not have been here on that day, or you may not have seen it in action, but you're going to now. What I like to do are two more things here. Number one, I like to come in here and set the tab order. Okay? So I want this program to make sure that when it starts, that's the field that's highlighted. Then if I hit tab, I want it to go here. If I hit tab again, I want it to go here. If I hit tab again, I want it to go here. If I hit tab again, no, I don't want it to go to the gross. I want it to go here. If I click tab again, I want it to go here, then back to here, then these. That's called the tab order. So I'm going to take my mouse and put it in the first field where I want by default, there is a tab order that's already set up. It's the order in which you put the controls on the form. But I don't like that. I want to make my own tab order. So with that first one highlighted, I'm going to click View, and I'm going to go down to where it says Tab Order, which is right near the bottom. View Tab Order. And if it just looks like this, you did it right. And if you say, well, I tried doing that and I didn't see it, then raise your hand, please. So now I'm going to click in here. So that says 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that is now my tab order. Okay, it's click the View button and then choose Tab Order. If you're happy with the way it looks, if yours looks like mine does, I'm not going to turn it off yet, but to turn it off, do another View Tab Order, and the numbers will go away. But the tab order is now set. And again, the reason for doing this isn't explained till later in your text, but there are typically three kinds of people who work on computers. All right? There's the kind of person who wants to do everything. If you give me some kind of a command, so file, exit, do this, they do it that way. There's millennials, which I guess are probably all of you in here, they like pictures. So they want to use these options. But there are some people in between who like to run programs and are just used to tabbing. In fact, with some of those people, they're like administrative assistants, men or women who have worked as, for lack of better words, like a secretary or an executive assistant, and they're used to doing different things on a computer where they tab to get from here to there. We're trying to make it as easy for them as possible. So I'm going to do another View Tab Order so the numbers go away. And I'm going to save the program again, and please look up on the screen. I'm going to click my Start button. Now notice where the cursor is. Now notice what happens when I tab. Tab, 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 tab. That's what I care about. That doesn't make the program run any better. But that's the line between a programmer and a good programmer. You do things where you are not writing the program typically for you, you are writing it for the people who are going to use it. So you're trying to make their life as simple for them as possible, especially if you're a contracted employee. Why? Because you want them to ask you back. Because that's how you make your money. And I don't care if it's a website or if it's a form like this. It doesn't matter. It's the same principle holds. Now, right now, I can click the buttons, but nothing happens. All right, so we're gonna fix that, but in just a minute. All right, a couple more things that we want to do. The first thing, I want this set up so that when I hit the Enter key, just hit Enter, I want the Calculate button to be clicked. That make sense? That's going to be my default action when I hit Enter. And when I hit the Escape key on my keyboard, I want the Clear key. Okay, so I want it to clear. So I'm going to, you don't click on any of the buttons, you single click on a blank space on the form, some blank spot. And then go into your Properties window and find right near the top, almost right underneath, it is right underneath the name, where it says Accept button. And right now that's set to none. Click on it, you'll get another one of those down arrows. Click the down arrow and choose Button Calculate. Now you could manually type it in, but that would be silly to do. All right. Everybody get that? I'm now going to arrow down a little farther and find the one that says Cancel button. Click on that one, click the down arrow, and I'm going to choose Button Clear. So what have we done? We painted our interface, we renamed all of our controls, all right? We set the tab order, we locked the controls into place, and now we've set in here, what's going to happen when we hit the Enter button or when we hit the Escape button. Does all that make sense? One more thing we're going to do, and then we're going to put our code in. Again, I'm going to single click on the form to make sure that's what's highlighted. And please look on the screen. I'm going to go down right near the bottom until I find start position. And right now it's the default, which puts it in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to click on that, which again brings another down arrow. And now I'm going to choose center screen. So click on the form, arrow down, or cursor your way down to start position, and choose center screen. Now I'm going to save again, and I'm going to run it. Please look up on the screen here, and notice where it appears. Boom, right in the middle of the screen. All right? And again, what I'm showing you, this is no gee whiz or wow or whatever type of stuff. This is just stuff you should be doing, period. And I'm spending some time doing it now because the next time I'm not going to say, hey, go back and set your cancel button and your accept button. I'm just going to assume you know how to do those. All right? So let's start putting the code in. Remember, please look on the screen here. You can double click any of these buttons, but whatever order you double click them is the order they're going to appear in your code window. Does that make sense? And once they're in there, don't move them around. Don't say, oh, I'm going to highlight it. Don't do that. There's just stuff that happens in some of these background files that are in here. Some of these, you don't want to do that. And I'm telling you it because I've done it in the past and screwed up my program. That's why. So what I'm going to do is in order, I'm going to double click the calculate button, which brings open my code window. I'm going to go back to the design mode and double click my clear button. I'm going to go back to design mode and double click my exit button. So I now have all three of those in there. There's my calculate, there's my clear, and there's my exit. If you did it in another order, it doesn't hurt anything. I just like it to be in the same order. Maybe I am too anal. I don't know. But I like doing it that way. All right? So I'll tell you what, let's put in the code for, are you ready for a break? No? Okay, then let's put it, it's not a lot of code to add. Okay? If we just came in for our exit button, if all we put in here was application.exit, we can do that. Just the word application.exit. Please look on the screen here. Now when I run it and I click exit, boom, the program ends. That's considered kind of harsh because what if the person accidentally clicked the button? Now the program stopped. Okay, so we will do this, but let's ask the person first. Let's ask the person. So let's bring up a box. So when you come in here, let me get rid of that. What we want to do is when we click this button, we want a box to come up on screen that says, do you really want to exit, or something like that. All right? And we'll have here a button that says yes and a button that says no. And here we'll have a title that says exit, and here we'll have an icon, so it'll look like that. Does that make sense? That way, if they click yes, it will stop. If they click no, you'll stay right there. So if you didn't mean to click exit, you'll stay in the program. Does all that make sense? Question?
Yeah, something's wrong.
What's that?
Something's wrong. I'm still at that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, let's put in this code, and then I'll come over and give you a hand. Okay. So to do this, I'm going to create what's called a message box, and in that message box, this right here, that's the title. This right here, that's the text. These right here are called the buttons. And this right here is called the icon. All right? Now, you don't have to, the only thing you have to set is the message. That's all you have to set. But it's kind of nice to customize it so you let the user know. Have you ever seen this on a box? That usually means error, or there's some kind of a problem. So what you're doing by putting a question mark in there is you're giving the user a visual clue. Hey, I'm about to ask you a question. If instead, let's say that you keep logging in and you keep screwing up, I might put in there an exclamation point, like bozo. you know, that type of thing. But it's what you are sending, for lack of better words, subliminal signals to the user based on what icon you use. So we're going to put that in right now. So it's a little bit of code. It's really about 3 lines, but it's kind of long. And when you put that stuff in there, it has to be put in a certain order. All right? So I'm going to put in the code right now. For right now, I'm just going to take that and comment that line out. So I'm going to say if so I want to do a message box. All right? And the first thing I'm going to put in there is I'm going to put in my text. Remember what we said. Do you wish to exit the program? All right? You can keep typing. I want this all to appear where you can read all of it, so I'm going to put it over several lines. You understand that? But you don't have to do that unless you want to. So I'm going to say, do you really want to exit? All right? So that's the first thing I'm putting in here. All right. Then notice the next thing it says basically is it says, what do you want in there for a title? All right? So I think this is maybe screwed up, but well it'll get fixed in just a minute. And I'm going to say here, exit program. All right? Then I'm going to put another one in here that's going to say message box buttons dot yes no, followed by message box icon, which is going to be dot question. All right. And don't worry if you see all that red stuff, it'll get fixed in a minute. So what have we got in here? That's the text that's going to appear. Do you really wish to exit? That's our title. It'll have a yes button and a no button, and it'll have an icon that looks like a question. Does all that make sense? And I've screwed up in here, and I can't remember what it is, so I've got to go look it up online. Apologize. So give me a second, and we'll come right back to it. Just did this the other day. In fact, I've got it in one of the other programs. That's what I'll do. I'll bring it up that way. Calculator GUI, I think it's in there. So the message got changed a little bit, but you can put whatever message you want to put in there. All right? That's what it should look like. And there are, where is the other one? Oh. If you look up on the screen here, please, notice now when I click the exit button what happens. See that? So there's the text, there's the title, there are the buttons, and there's the icon. So if I do say yes, if I say no, it stays on the program. If I say yes, it quits. So that's the code you have to put in there. All right? I'll leave that up there, and I'll give you plenty of time to key that in. When you're done, click your double disk icon, run the program, and click the exit button. If it works, you put the code in correctly. If it doesn't look like that, like I just showed you, then you put it in incorrectly, come back and look at your code. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines to put in our clear routine, and 1, 2, 3, 4 lines to put in to our calculate routine. So we have 10 more lines, and we're done with the program. Somebody tell me in English, what do you think that means that I just put in blue? What do you think that means? Right there. What do you think that means? You know this, even if you think you don't. There's a yes button and a no button. And it's asking if we clicked which button. What's there? Yes. So it says if you click the yes button, exit the program. Since there's just a yes and a no, if you click the no, we're saying do nothing. That's exactly what we want to have happen here. I'm going to put something like this in every program I do with you from now on. And I'm going to assume I don't have to explain that you're just going to understand it. Yes?
What's the difference between that and this dot close?
You can do a this dot close, you can do an application dot exit. There's a lot of ways that you can close it. All right? The only thing is if you do want to close it in, a console program, the application dot exit doesn't work. You have to say, I think it's environment dot exit, just because they set it up differently. And this dot close, I don't believe works in a console, but there is no difference.
Regardless if I push yes or no, it exits. That's
Okay, so are you sure, did you put this part in, and you put it in correctly? All right, is it showing the yes button and the no button?
yeah, just no matter what button. I
Okay, did you put this inside of curly braces? All right, then let's take a look at what you got. Put a semicolon at the end. That's why.
Oh, missed that, that's right.
Yeah, because if you put that at the end, it says execute that line regardless.
Okay.
So that's what it's doing. Since it's doing that, it's automatically going down and doing the application on
I
exit
forgot it
regardless.
was the.
Okay, well, it says here semicolon expect, so double click that line, right there. Line above it, so that line needs a semicolon at the end. All right, so now that went away. It says possible empty state, go ahead and double click that. Oh, I'm sorry, don't mess with that. So let's go back to here. Let's go back to here, let's see. So if message box not show, we really want to exit, let's put this like I did on a couple lines, just so we can read everything for us. Exit program, that looks good. So, question equals. Oh, all you have to do, hit enter. Put in left curly brace. That's right. Now, take this line that you commented out. Comment. Now hit enter. Put in right curly brace. There you go. Now it should be perfect. Save it, try to run. Okay? That means that you're missing that kind of a curly brace. Go ahead and double click it. Oh, here's the problem. You got that, that's good. You got that, that's good. It looks like, I'm not sure, but where you've got that curly brace right on that line there, click at the end of that line and hit enter. And put in, think that you're missing the curly brace, if I can guess right there. There you go. And that was for the ones that were up above. Somehow you removed one. Okay. Are you getting it to work? Again, we're only a third of the way there. So next we're going to put in the clear button stuff, and then we'll put in the calculation stuff. Yes?
Exit open just fine, but it's still, it's
Okay, that I don't know what to tell you because I'm not sure what you did.
I. Here and try to read it.
Still there. Well, ideally, we're going to be able to get rid of one of them in just a couple of minutes. Okay. All right, let's put in the code then for the clear button. Remember what we want to have happen when we clear. I asked you before, you all saw it. 6 things. Clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this, clear this, put the cursor there. Does that make sense? I want to clear out all my text boxes. How am I going to clear out the text boxes? I'm going to set it equal to what? You know this. How did we clear out something in JavaScript? How did we clear a string?
No.
Well, technically you could use null, but it's not recommended. Null you should really just be using with objects. All right. You set it the text property equal to double quote, the empty string. That's the easiest way to do it. So this is what we're going to do right now for the clear button. I'll put all 6 lines up here. Oops, sorry. All right, that's the whole routine, okay? Please look up on the screen right now. I'm gonna come right back to it so you can copy it down, but notice, I'm gonna come in here and I'm throwing garbage into all of these on purpose. And what does clear do? Cleared them all and I put my cursor back into the first box. That's what I wanted. And now I can exit. Do I want to exit? Yes. So there's the code. So I'll give you a couple minutes to put that in. We'll come back and we'll talk about that last line, line 32 on mine. 4 more lines and we're finished. Again, put the code in, click your double disk icon, or do a file, save all. Does everybody understand what's happening when we're doing this? You should now, ideally, have all the code in for your exit button and for your clear button, and you should understand how that code works. Well, my guess is, we'll go back into design mode. You didn't change the name of it, so single click on here. You do have the text box. Okay, go down to the next one. No, see how that was not changed? That's got to be text box last name, text box hours, text box rate, text box gross. So first one you changed. Go back to the second one, over your name property, which is at the top. Change that to text box last name, and then text box hours, text box rate, text box gross. Be right back. Anyone who's having trouble getting theirs to work? Okay, what happens when you, are you getting an error or what? Okay, say no again. Okay, take your mouse and click on the first error. So where's flame? Okay, there. Okay, go to the end of that line and hit enter. Put in another break curly brace. Okay, and hit enter again, you might have to put in one more. You might have removed the ones that were there. Okay. Save it and try to run it again. Okay. What's wrong? My guess is it's still a problem with curves. Stop. Arrow down some more. Go to the stop, stop. Curves don't look like the one thing. What did you delete? Oh, that extra?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
might have
there's
hosed,
that.
might have hosed up the program because you feel like you picked one to delete, you might have been the wrong one.
No, I did just really click.
I'm not sure. Worst case, you'd have to key it in again, the whole program. All right. If you'd all look up on the screen here, let's just quickly look at the code for the last button. There's only 4 lines, so I'm going to give you those. And you can put those in then if you want to. And let me just put them in and I'll go back and explain them to you. Okay, it's those 4 lines. That's it. Now please look on the screen here. So now if I come through here, Jeff, Scott, 40, 10, now I've got it. Okay? And I can clear, and I can exit. It will ask me if I say yes. So that's everything. Okay? Drew, the only thing I can tell you is I'm not sure exactly what you did when you removed those. See what I'm saying? And if you look up on the screen here, Drew, I want to show this for you. Everybody can see it. But this file that's right here, that's the designer file. That's the file that gets built as behind the scenes as you're putting all your code in. If you remove something and you removed it from there, it's still in the file here. That can hose everything up. So I'm not saying that's what happened, but that could be what it was. So what you might have to do, what I'd start with, rather than going and keying in everything again, is the button you were having problems with, which I think you said was your exit button. I would remove the exit button totally. I would just go into the design mode, highlight your exit button, and hit delete. And then I would add it back again. All right, but before you do that, look and make sure it's gone in a code mode, in your code too. And then I would go back again and try to add it one more time. All right, so that's everything. Sorry, it took a half hour longer than I wanted it to, so you got about an hour and a half that you can finish this or start working on the next one. You know, I'm gonna say this and you might laugh, but to me, this is where it's, for lack of better words, it kind of starts becoming fun. It really wasn't that hard to build the interface. We just took our time because it was the first time. But you're starting to also implement the logic of the program. That's where it gets fun, because that, as I said, anyone can create an interface. All right? But not everyone can understand the logic that goes behind making that interface work. You know, you might have done some stuff, you might have created a really good looking form in the class last semester, but if you can't make that form work when you click the button to have it do something, it's basically useless. All right?
And they're all still there.
The code is still there?
You do what?
I deleted all of them.
All right, then I don't know if this is gonna hurt anything, but then about all you got left would be to literally highlight both of those. All the ones in the code that's in there twice.
Yeah, I deleted all of those.
Yeah, I understand that. Go back to your code. Now highlight the one that says exit or whatever that's in it, get rid of that too. I haven't seen that before, like what you had where it's giving you two of them. I have not seen that.
I didn't see a pattern.
But much rather have errors like this happen now when we're just learning the stuff as opposed to when you're starting your test.
Yeah. Okay.
I even thought of for your test, creating all the shells for you and giving them to you, but then I have to give you 6 shells because I don't know if you're going to do GUI or console. All right, and then if you have a problem copying it over, then that doesn't work. Okay. Oh, because you when you ran it, you probably put something non-numeric in for hours. All right, that's why. That's the exception assistant. You put the X in for it. What it's telling you is it doesn't know how to handle it. It's trying to convert something into a double, and you didn't put a number in there. See what I'm saying? You either left it blank, or you put in something that had a non-numeric character in it. It should work fine, as long as you can put anything you want for first name and last name, but you need to put in numbers for hours and rate. Then it should work. Yeah, probably go ahead and click it. All right. Let's do this. My guess is it's still running. All right. Now you should do it. Brady's name on here. Yeah, like I said, that I haven't seen before, and I've seen my share of different stuff happen, so.
I deleted all of the buttons and then I
Alright.
added the buttons back in and deleted all this code. Would that be?
Yeah, you should be able to do that. Like I said, in the worst case, you'll just have to start fresh. And I would be glad to tell you, happy to tell you what happened, but the only way I could tell you is if I saw everything you did. And then I probably could tell you what happened.
Well, honestly, I don't even know what I did to do that.
Well, again, it after a while, when I say do this, it is second nature. You don't have to ask, you just start doing it. It's like anything else that you practice enough.